Hi, welcome to episode 2 of GerrisCast. This is Chris Abraham.
And I'm Dan Kruger.
Welcome to episode 2. Uh, in the after conversation that Dan and I had, and let me, Dan and I talked about how maybe we didn't discuss baseline what influencers are, who influencers are, and what influencer marketing is, and probably what the future of internet marketing and influencer marketing is. So I'm Chris, and I am the co-founder with Dan Kruger. My name's Chris Abraham of Gerris Corp. And we've been in the business through different companies, but together on and off since 2007, which is 12 years, and has been an amazing exploration into the deep history of what we call now influencer marketing. In the day, all there really was bloggers, and by 2007, there were people on Facebook, but it was really only a private thing shared between friends. There were no pages or influencers. There had been Friendster and MySpace. Some minor celebrities came out of there, and some musical people like Bieber came out of that, didn't he, Dan?
I think so, yeah.
Or did he come out of YouTube? At that time, YouTube started to become a thing. I don't know what year Bieber became hot, but he was prospected right off. And I think that Justin Bieber, was sort of the ground zero of when influencers started to come. People were they were cutting through the old world of doing cattle calls and having auditions, and people were going to see how people were writing, what people were doing, how people were being creative and singing and playing the guitar and so forth on platforms such as YouTube,
Yep.
which was born in 2004, 2005. When did you become aware of people becoming baby famous or famous online only, Dan?
So I'll just give you an example. There's a YouTube prankster, sort of. His name's Ed Bassmaster, and I actually went to elementary school with him, middle school, and high school. We kind of grew up together. We went to different schools at one point, and then he moved and came back to my school. He was always really, really funny. He would always sort of make faces behind the teacher to get the class to laugh, that sort of thing. And about, I guess, probably 8 years ago, like, we had reconnected on Facebook and chatting, and he had made these really funny videos. And he ended up, I actually gave him some advice with, you should start a YouTube channel and all of this. And he created a YouTube channel that is now, he gets millions of views on his YouTube videos because they're hilarious. He has all these different characters that he dresses up as, and he just does weird and crazy things. And he even had a television show on CMT for, I think, just a few episodes before it was canceled. He's better on YouTube than on TV. He gets that instant views rather than having to produce something so more old fashioned, if you will. But he's a comedic influencer on YouTube. He has, a Snapchat channel. He also has an Instagram channel, or an Instagram account that he constantly posts updates on, and live videos, and sort of Instagram stories and Snapchat stories, Facebook stories. He's all over the place, but he gets instantly millions of views. So he gets paid through YouTube. He sells merchandise with his different characters on it. So he's a comedy influencer. And I think that was probably a good example of someone that you could, it's tough to tap those giant A-list stars to do things for clients unless they're being paid for it.
Or unless they went to school together from baby times, probably.
True.
I don't know why he doesn't have a security dongle and a bag of plant-based protein. But I totally agree, and that was always the promise of the internet, right? Like, it would allow people who are living rural living in some place besides Los Angeles, New York, Hollywood, to be discovered. And that sense of discovery has become, your buddy was an overnight success after working hard for 10 years, right? I mean, it's not like something that just fell into his lap. Like, it seems like a lot of the people that I see that have been really become successful and can buy their girlfriend's German Mercedes-Benz Geländewagen, AMG supercars. It comes from many years of being part of that community. I mean, there's certainly overnight successes, but what influencer marketing, it's the first people to pop over the horizon, were the bloggers, political bloggers, and I really think the first time any real influencers were being monetized outside of YouTube were the mommy blogs, or at least they were the first ones to take it as seriously as a heart attack.
I think the mommy blogs are the ones, they're the coveted demographic by every business, because they can influence, because they have the power to influence other mommies and daddies and everyone,
and the checkbook.
Exactly.
And I think, if you think about things such as simple as when mothers generally become mothers, like it's that coveted 23 to 43-year-old window of having babies, and then you have that baby in some form of another, for another 10, 15, 18, 20 years of influence. So if you can get someone to cotton to your brand, not only do they influence the people in their community, like fellow moms and real moms in their community, people they go to, mom yoga, mommy boot camp, daycare centers, and so forth. They influence them by being walking billboards, but they also influence, like you said, their spouse, and then they brand their children on the brands that they use in the home, which affects a different generation, I think.
And all the people that they influence that read their blog, or if we're talking mommy bloggers specifically.
And
But,
those are the people that we care the most about. Is
exactly.
that primary effect, which is people online looking for ways to navigate how to be a mom, because every mom I've talked to feels like she has imposter syndrome, right? Feels like she's the one who's going to really F this up. And so there's a lot of desire to see, well, I don't think it's only trendy. I don't think it's only like, what is the most trendy? I mean, I'm not a parent, but as a child of my mom, I still kind of covet those brands of the kind of products and foods and snacks and so forth that my mom used growing up. So there's a lot of influence there. In addition, I mean, we see influencers all the time who now the verticals have become as broad as anything you can think of. I teach a class in influencer marketing, and before Dan and I did influencer marketing, we both had our own first careers. His was in video and television and movie production, and mine was in technology. And I was one of the early internet people, from 1993 on. I wasn't one of the super early people who were there in the 70s, but I definitely had a BBS account in the 80s. But when I really got online in 2000, in 1993, the internet came up with its own memes and its own definitions, and it started out as a world of programmers and perverts. Right, the internet was driven by pornography. All technology is driven by technology, videotapes, video, streaming video, all that stuff. And there was this internet law 34 called "If it exists, there is porn of it." And after everybody stops blushing in the class that I teach, I go on to say, well, that means in terms of interests, any vertical you can think of, from carnivore diet or keto or running or collecting mid 90s Nike basketball shoes to anything. There are huge communities of it. You can see that on Reddit all the time. And as a result, the mommy blogs were just, I guess, known for their ability to breed. But as that came about, there became specializations. I mean, Dan is a CrossFit influencer and a health influencer. I have influence in social media. So anything that you can dream of, you can find. Like I said, if internet marketing and internet influencer marketing law 34 is if it exists, there's an influencer, and not just one. There's a whole influencer community. I mean, Dan and I have never hit a brick wall of not finding at least 1,000 people who are interested in the particular thing that we're promoting. The only wall we've ever had is a client trying to promote a junk message or a junk item or a junk product and like telling us, well, make them like it, make them say nice things about it. And those are generally people who are less interested in the promotional aspect of influencer marketing and more interested in just the baseline Google juice and SEO influence of it.
So what we do for clients is basically we identify the influencers in a specific segment or demographic. And then we, like mommy bloggers, like fitness bloggers, sports bloggers, yoga bloggers, or influencers, if you will. I say bloggers because I'm so used to, that's where we started, like Chris said. But we identify them. We build a list that we're going to be targeting and reaching out to on behalf of the client. And then we tap these influencers with either gifts or information, and we ask them to share this information or what they think of this particular gift with the people that follow
them. And yeah, and I always used to make this comparison when we had pitches 10 years ago, because there wasn't an influencer marketing industry 10 years ago. But I always used to make I can still make the same argument now, which is, yes, when you hit an influencer who has access on something like Snapchat or Instagram, who has access to, hundreds of thousands of followers, you can activate them in that one post. Or if you have 6 months of post or a year of post, or if you end up becoming a partner with them, but you're sort of using them in the same way one would use an advertisement. And one of my arguments to clients in days gone by is that advertising is ephemeral. And by ephemeral means transitory, transient, impermanent. It means that, as long as you spend those advertising dollars, the advertising will continue. But the moment you stop with the advertising dollars, you'll lose all of the equity that you put into that influencer or the advertisements.
Which
it'll just go away.
Is a good, which basically explains our sub practices of influencer marketing, which is earned influencer marketing and paid influencer marketing. Which earned influencer marketing, we're not giving them anything other than the information or this gift that we'd like them to try out or review or unbox or whatever. And paid influencer marketing, which has become a lot more popular than it used to be, which from everyone from micro influencers to A-list influencers want to be paid for giving their seal of approval or even trying something. So for a client, there becomes two budgets, or the budget for us as the agency becomes slightly higher if it's paid influencer marketing, because we have to budget our time and all of the effort that we're doing in the reaching out, and then the secondary budget, which would be the budget for that particular influencer, whether they want 10 influencers or 1,000 influencers. We have to think about how much we can put aside for each one, and the reach of that particular influencer, whether they have a reach of 10,000 potential eyeballs or a million.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, let's say we reached out to a middle class of influencers who wouldn't work for less than $250. A post for their time, right? Like just for the ability to work with them, just not for their review, but for their time. I think a lot of mommy bloggers have baseline $250. I'll write a post or I'll do something for you. No guarantees as to what I'll say, but I will receive the product. I will look at it. I will experience it for a couple of weeks, and I will write a review. You time that times 100, and you have 2,500. Or is 25,000? What's my math? So 100 times 250 is 25,000, right?
Yeah.
So if you make that by 1,000, then that's 250,000. But I think that it's affordable in an ad campaign these days. If you're going to reach out to 100 influencers at $250 a pop, $25,000 is an appropriate fee, and as an additional budget to a campaign in order to cut in line. I mean, it needs to be $1 million campaign or a $250,000 campaign if you want to reach out to a really long tail, or you can reach out to 10 people who are highly influential for $2,500 for $25,000. Is my math working?
No,
Dan?
yeah.
Do you have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
calculator?
yeah.
I'm an English major, man. I might have been a programmer, but I'm an English major. So that needs to be an above and beyond the services that we render, that we do, unless of course it's going to be 20% of all those fees. I guess that could be we raise the fee by 25% or 20% so that each influencer receives 80% of what the client has put aside. I mean, there's all different types of things. There's affiliate marketing plans that have been kind of wrapped into this whole space where a influencer takes a risk and starts to mention and include links to a product with the understanding that any time anybody uses that code or follows a particular coded link, they will get a certain amount of money. That is success-based marketing. There's a lot of different versions of this, but at the end of the day, I think it's really important when Dan, and I make the mistake about calling them bloggers. I think it's very important for us to realize that essentially, as I was saying, the advertising is very ephemeral. But what we do with regards to getting people to write blog posts and to create content on YouTube and to create more permanent, searchable, findable content uh, makes me believe that even now, 3 months on after my writing about TB12's plant-based um, protein supplement, I'm still getting 50 viewers a day at my blog, and my blog is nothing. It's chrisabraham.com. It's nothing big. So I mean, the value of making sure that when you launch a product, not only having the big bang of an influencer pop your name onto Instagram, which disappear. Well, Instagram doesn't disappear, but a lot of our influencers would do stories, which would disappear. There's a permanence to being in someone's blog. There's a permanence to being on someone's YouTube with links and screen clicks and all those other kinds of things that allow people to find the product into the future when they're doing their due diligence. I'm a hunter when it comes to finding products that I want. I will spend weeks on YouTube or searching to find whether Garmin, Sunto, or Apple Watch or Fitbit is the best choice for me. And then I go through YouTube, I check them out. A lot of those influencers probably have been compensated or have received a test product. And then I go to the internet and I check reviews on Amazon, and a lot of those are bought and paid for by bots and by astroturfers, but I kind of get a feel for what people are saying. And then I search on Google and maybe Bing and look to see what pops up at the top or on the second page that's below the part that says ads. I don't know how you search for things, Dan,
No,
but I'm always running into
exactly.
influencers all the time.
Completely. Yeah, no, I use Google, Amazon, and you always know, I think you and I are pretty savvy with knowing which seem to be paid for and which are legit, you know? I always look at the
At
negative.
least, at least you hope you are, right? I think once artificial intelligence and sentient
Yeah.
quantum computers start acting up, I don't know. Like, I think I might take a job having my brain scanned and go into the cloud because rent is a lot cheaper. Actually, it's not. I look at how much money people spend for AWS cloud hosting service, and maybe it's more expensive to have a sentient being maintained in the cloud in a quantum computer cluster.
Right now it is, but might not be.
Well, we have a lot of fun doing this. Like, one of the things we never talk about with regards to influencer marketing is it's not like my friend Pam Teagarden used to think. It's not like, um, right, drawing up a scroll and creating a golem out of clay. And it's certainly not like having a horde of zombies under our control. Like, each person needs to be handled like a client, like an agency client, like an actor or actress, or like someone who's a writer for the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. You have to treat each person. You have to negotiate their egos, their fears, their desires, their insecurities. We do all that in the inbox. Dan and I, before we put on our armor, remember our previous intern and our former employee, Nina Martin, who has done an amazing job of being our patron saint. I mean, we still work with her, but she's the person who influenced us to be kind for everyone we meet is fighting a hard battle, and and to do hugs not horns. Every time we go in, we pray to the spirit of Nina Martin and try to be as gentle and forgiving. Try not to rise to any bait of people saying, you know, go to hell or anything terrible like that. And I think that we win a lot of our battles in the charm offensive that we have by treating everyone fairly and with love. I mean, you're especially good at it, Dan.
Yeah, no, I mean that's it. You can turn people around. I think it started. I remember when an early client, Fresh Air Fund, way back in the day. This is 9 years ago, maybe 2010 or so, where it was one of the first times. You get that sort of, yeah, I'm not interested. This was blogger outreach at the time, so we were reaching out to particular blogs, and this was completely informational. So it was for Fresh Air Fund is a nonprofit organization out of New York City that places inner city children into the homes of people that live in the suburbs and in the country, to give them for the summer, for a couple of weeks, just to give them a taste of life outside the city. And we reached out to lots of different demographics of bloggers because pretty much anyone could fit that demographic. It didn't matter what they blogged about, in particular. And so I forget exactly what the blogger's demographic was, but his initial response was, "Yeah, I'm not interested. That doesn't fit my blog." And I responded with, a response that said, gave him a reason why his blog would be a good venue for that. And I just remember Chris complimenting and saying, "Yeah, that was great turnaround." So it was really it was a good a good example of using our inner Nina Martin.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's not hard to soften a heart, when it comes to. I mean, we had them for several years, and we did fundraising campaigns, we did informational stuff, and we did call to arms, such as, hey, we're looking for kids, city kids. We're looking for city kids. I mean, this is one of the first ones that you and I really did a geo targeting, where we really tried to find any, like, we forgot about verticals, and we realized that if we found, I came out with this massive New York City super list, because we didn't care what each particular blogger blogged about. We only cared about the fact that they were in Philadelphia, that they were in Cherry Hill, that they were in Massachusetts, that they were in Connecticut, that they were in Long Island.
They had a platform. Just the fact that they had a platform that we could tap, no matter how many influencers how many people read their blog, whether it was 10 or 1,000, this was a platform that we could get the word out about. And we didn't have to pay them. We didn't have to give them anything other than information that this particular organization existed. We just gave them the tools to post, and they did. And they did in every demographic and all over the country. And I think it was a big help for that particular organization.
But like I was saying, I mean, this is the first time we did geo-targeting, where we focused on the metro area, the places where kids had historically been placed, and where kids had historically been prospected from. I believe, like, it started out with New York City, but I think, like, challenging communities in Philly, and maybe even in Baltimore, and other boroughs of Manhattan, Newark, Trenton. I think the kids were taken from all those places. And, the original story of the Fresh Air Fund is it started at a time really before air conditioning was a thing. And what's that awful thing? Malaria. There was problems with malaria in Manhattan in, like, the turn of the century, last century, like, 1880s to 1920s. And so the rich people used to leave the city all summer long and go to their summer house in New England. And I think that some very rich people said, well, why shouldn't children have the same opportunity as our children to go to camp in the summer? And why shouldn't they have the opportunity to get out of the city? And of course, there's an opportunity that if you see it, you want it, or if you experience it, you pursue it. And to have people get out of their small little apartments and see what a home in the country looks like, and see how other families live, was invaluable. And these are the kinds of real details. The reason why I bring it up, I'm not promoting Fresh Air Fund, although they're magical. The reason why I bring it up is because we were able to go into that detail with every blogger. We still create, and it's called a landing page, Dan, but it's called or you had a different word for it. Is it a landing page? Is it an informational page? We used to call it a social media news release, SMNR, but it would always be everything, all the details, no matter how minute, with the focus on the real simple stuff at the top, and then all the detail work below it. So I don't know if there's that much more to say. Anything else to add, Dan, about influencer marketing or the kind of services that we do?
The fact that we can reach and target any demographic for any particular client, and that's what we've been specializing in for many years, 20 plus years combined. And so we'll have a different topic for next week, and I think this was good, Chris.
All right. Thanks, brother. You can find us at gerr.is or www.gerriscorp.com. You can pronounce it Gerris Corp or Gerris Corp. We answer to both. I'm Chris Abraham.
And I'm
Dan Kruger. You can reach me at chris@gerriscorp.com. You can reach him at dan@gerriscorp.com. If you want to reach out to both of us, it's at info@gerriscorp.com. And you can always text me directly if you have any questions at +1 202-352-5051. Or if you're not international, it's just 202-352-5051. And we look forward to next week. You can find this podcast at Gerris.com/podcast. And we look forward to reaching out to you next week, Wednesday, with an entirely different subject that I'm going to let Dan choose.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Okay, take care. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.